you have to know what's critical, what's urgent, and what's important, because everything is important. And certain things are urgent, but you got to focus on the critical things first. And that comes with time and practice. And, this is my third athletic director's job. And so I've learned a lot over the years.
Mike Buddie, a former MLB pitcher who transitioned into athletic administration from Wake Forest to Furman to Army West Point to now leading Texas Christian University, sat down with us recently for a THSADA Director's Cut. My name is Pat Cohan. I'm going to take you into this interview where we talk to Mike Buddie about his leadership philosophy, which was shaped by his time at West Point under a 4-star general, how he applies those lessons to focus on what's critical and not just what's urgent, how he balances high-pressure decision-making with intentional family time, and why AI should enhance, not replace, human connection in the athletic department. Before we dive into this episode, we do want to thank our partner, and that's QHF Sports, a Texas-based leader in sports floor maintenance and installation. From repairs and refining to permanent and portable basketball and volleyball courts, QHF helps schools deliver safe, professional-grade playing surfaces across the state. Learn more at qhfsports.com. Thanks again for joining us. We hope you enjoy this THSADA Director's Cut. Mr. Buddie, your time is so valuable as a big-time AD. Personally, how do you figure out the best way to use it day to day? What's your system?
Well, one of the great things about being at West Point for 6 years is I worked for a general who ultimately became a 4-star general. And when I first got there, he said, you have to know what's critical, what's urgent, and what's important, because everything is important. And certain things are urgent, but you got to focus on the critical things first. And so I thought that was a great way of thinking about, being an athletic director at Texas Christian University. Like, everything's really important, but personally, I need to focus on those critical things first and knock down those targets because other people can handle a lot of the important things and some of the urgent things. And so I just need to be very focused on what's critical, what is going to have the biggest impact on the institution or our department or our student athletes directly. So whether that's, football is our big revenue earner. Obviously, that's got to take up a lot of my time and attention and focus. But then there's another component to all this, which is your personal time, right? I have 2 kids. I have a wife. We're trying to buy a house. And so those fall into some of the critical things as well. And so for me, it's understanding what can wait until tomorrow, or in some cases, what can wait until July, where things slow down and we can knock out something like that in the summer. And that comes with time and practice. And this is my third athletic director's job, and so I've learned a lot over the years.
How do you communicate that to your coaches who also have critical things, who also have all these needs, and they're looking for leadership, and you're having to decide, do I go on a house visit to see if we're going to buy this house with my wife? Or help this coach that's having a critical issue with their program?
So coaches actually, most of the time, are almost relieved to hear that that's my approach, because they're trying to balance their life and their personal life, their professional life, their recruits. But they know, they're a veteran group, and so they understand, hey, this is something that can wait until Monday, or this is something that we need to knock out immediately. A lot of times it's just daily communication, sometimes through text. The positives and the negatives about, having cell phones and being in touch 24 hours a day is you can get a lot done through text. A lot of times a coach will just say, hey, here's the situation. Are you comfortable with me proceeding? And that gives me an opportunity to maybe step out of wherever I am, give them a quick call, talk through it, and keep moving. So for the most part, in my experience, I find that they actually are relieved to hear that I do want to have a work-life balance, and I do understand the difference between those critical things and really important things. And that's just something you have to learn over time.
And when you got out of professional baseball and came to Wake Forest and started your administrative career, what were the things that were really hard to learn for you that have become a really big proponent in your promotion into these bigger roles?
Well, I remember, you retire from baseball, right? I was a baseball player from the time I was 4 until 34. And I remember thinking, how am I ever going to find anything else that I'm going to be this passionate about? And so I was really fortunate to have some great mentors at Wake Forest early, and some challenging jobs. And I learned quickly, I missed being on the team, being on a bus, playing cards on a 6-hour bus ride. at the time I hated it, but that was one of the things that I really missed. And so what we do now is I still surround myself with a team. We don't wear uniforms, but we still huddle up and we still have to strategize, and we're still fighting to win, small gains, big gains. We still keep score. And so that's been a great replacement for me. Still having that camaraderie and sense of belonging that comes with being a teammate, I find really rewarding.
With AI and automation and software taking so many roles away, how does your staff build that team, but also maximizing the resources that are available to them?
Well, that's a great question, and we are on the very beginning of the crest of the AI wave. And what we know is you have to embrace it. There are factors and circumstances where it is a no-brainer to help further the mission of your department. Certainly with sports information, the historical SID that used to keep the box score on the baseball and write a whole write-up on the narrative of the game. A lot of that can be done through AI, which allows those professionals to really focus on storytelling in other ways. And so just like we tell our students, hey, don't shun AI, embrace it. Don't use it to take a shortcut, but utilize it and harness it for good. We're trying to do the same things and harness it in ways that doesn't replace human interaction, because I think that's a huge component of covering the young people that we want to represent, but also being smart and using it to invest in key areas where, maybe you don't have to send 6 people to stay on an airplane and stay in a hotel and cover a team when AI can handle a lot of what it's historically been done.
You have a 0.1% background, professional baseball, West Point, and everything that you've gone through. How does a 0.1% leader connect with a passionate person that's in the staff, whether that's a administrative assistant? How do you grow? How are you growing your people?
I think quietly. I don't come in with my manifesto and say, hey, this is what I learned at West Point and this is how we're going to do things. I find that the most effective leaders are patient. They're empathetic. They're vulnerable. I got to TCU 4 months ago, and I'm still taking in as much as I'm spewing out. I hopefully I'm taking in more than I'm spewing out. But there is a day-to-day component to what I do that it has to be consistent and slow incremental progress on a daily basis, not accepting status quo, not accepting mediocrity, sometimes having to get people to elevate their expectations of themselves, or chart a new course and set a bigger vision for their department, because our student athletes deserve it. And so that's a great opportunity during a leadership change, is to help elevate people's expectations. But to me, that's a slow incremental progress where people just start to notice who's getting promoted, who's not getting promoted, what the expectations are, and you have to do it every single day. Tuesday afternoon at practice, I'm picking up little trash wrappers on the ground because that's the expectation.
And in the panel today, it was a beautiful welcoming for you, right? This is a newer job for you, and you got to sit in front of 750 of Texas's leaders in the athletic space. What was the message that you really wanted to come across people are going to see from TCU going forward?
Well, my plea to them was to continue to fight for what the big thing is, right? Keep the main thing. And to me, the main thing is we're educating, training, and inspiring young people, and we do it through sport. My personal background, I feel like I'm a better husband, a better father, a better athletic director, a better friend, because I competed in team sports. And you learn so much about inclusion and fighting through adversity and being a good teammate. It's so important what they do, and to do it in Texas, where it's so impactful, so meaningful for so many young people. You think back to coaches that you played for that really made you have a sour taste in your mouth and you almost hated going to practice. That's the last thing these young people need. They need to love the game, embrace it, because it's going to provide them so many life skills that are so important. We're talking so much about the 0.5% that's going to get $1 million paycheck through NIL or revenue share, and those kids are exceptional in every way, but they're such the minority. What these athletic directors do in the state of Texas is so much further impacting people that when they're 30, 40, 50 years, they're going to make this country a better place. They're going to continue to pay that forward to the next generation of young people.
How does one become elite in all facets of life? And I'm looking more for the family advice. And sorry if I'm going too personal, but I'm a professional. We travel a lot as a family. My wife's a college coach, so we're trying to be elite people and have elite impact. What have you learned in your family life that can help my wife and I and the families of ADs here in Texas?
Well, you just have to work at it. It has to be an intentional, strategic, daily interaction, and not to corporatize it, but my wife sits down with my assistant and they go through my calendar, because if things slip through the cracks, and mainly they want to know what's on my calendar after 5 p.m. Over the next month that is going to impact my ability to be there when my kids are visiting, or not allow us to do something that's it's important to my wife. And so you really have to be intentional about it. And again, when I got my first athletic director job at Furman, I didn't know how to utilize a personal assistant. I didn't know how to balance all of that. I was hell-bent on just being the best athletic director I can because I wanted to be elite. And I think what I've learned is the way I'm wired, I'm never going to feel that I'm elite at anything, which can be good because it keeps you hungry and pushing to get to the next level. But the minute your family takes a back seat to what you're trying to do, it ends badly. And so I've learned that through friends that, have gone through divorces, and they regret not making it a priority to be as inclusive as you can with your family. Our lifestyles are tough, but again, I'm not elite at any of it, and I think because I feel that way, I just continue to work at it.
I love that. And as you're talking, the image I had in my mind was, it's almost like the family is the foundation of how fast you can go, but if you don't have a strong family, you're running in sand and you're not going anywhere.
You have to have a partner who understands the commitment that this is. And being an athletic director, being in your business, being a professional baseball player, it's a lifestyle. It's not a job. It is a lifestyle. My wife is just as important to the fundraising initiatives at West Point and certainly at TCU. We're a partner. She doesn't get a paycheck, but she is as important to the enterprise as I am. And so I think having that knowledge, having that understanding is half of the battle.
As we turn the cameras off, one more message to leave Texas athletic directors as they go on to the summer and into their 2025-2026 season. What advice, what words of encouragement, or just what words do you want to leave them with?
Yeah, I would encourage them to focus on people that they knew years ago, because if you stay in the moment and you're dealing with the frustrations of, off the field behavior or issues or parental involvement or any of these negative things, what grounds me is to think about the kids 7 years ago who came to Furman University with only one opportunity to get a college education, and that was by earning a scholarship. And to see that personal growth over those 4 years, to see the amazing people that they become, to see them getting married and starting families of their own, that's the impact that we have. And so I would consider or encourage these Texas high school athletic directors to think about that student who probably wasn't the best player on the roster, but they found themselves, they grew personally, they came out of their shell because they felt surrounded by teammates who trusted them, who empathized with them and made them feel safe. That's why we do what we do.
Mike, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Pat.